Some places in the world, getting a gun is easier than getting a glass of water. And each year, 12 billion bullets are produced. That's nearly 2 bullets for every person on the planet. It's stats such as these that set investigative journalist Iain Overton on a globe-trotting mission to research guns and their ripple effect. The results are laid out in the pages of the new book, The Way of the Gun, A Bloody Journey into the World of Firearms. Iain Overton joins us this morning from London. And good morning to you, Iain. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to start out by saying that you've been held up at gunpoint 3 times. You've also been shot. Was this the kind of the catalyst to do this?
Well, I've been shot at a number of times, absolutely, from Iraq to Somalia, because as a war correspondent with a number of news outlets, I've seen guns close up and personal. Being held up at gunpoint is probably one of the most intimate experiences you can really encounter. It's something that stays with you for a very long time. But no, the catalyst actually was a terrible moment when I was reporting in Brazil, and I saw the after effects of a young woman having been shot and killed by her lover, and her 5-year-old child had lain awake at his dead mother's feet for the entire night. And this led me thinking, look at the long-term impact that the gun has far and beyond around the world. And our global debate around guns is very much centered around the US and the US ownership of guns. And this book, having gone to 25 countries for it, was an attempt to actually say, look at gun culture around the world.
And the gun debate in the U.S., as you know, is widespread and very controversial. Yet you said you kind of wanted to stay away from that gun debate. How come you did that specifically?
Well, I think that the gun debate in the US ends up distorting perspective. So, for example, in Canada, most people in Canada think we don't have a gun problem. Look how bad the US is. But actually, if you looked at Canada's gun crimes, it would chart around 4th if it was rated against European Union countries in terms of homicides. When it comes to gun suicides, over 500 people shoot themselves every single year in Canada. Now, 20,000 people shoot themselves every year in the US. But only around 80 people shoot themselves every year in England and Wales. So Canada's gun suicide rate is 12 times that of England and Wales. And I think the US distorts perspective. I'm not saying that Canada has a huge gun problem, but certainly 500 plus gun suicides a year is something that should be debated more often in Canadian politics.
You know, you also write, boy, there's so much to talk about here in so little time, but you also write about these mass shootings. One was Sandy Hook, one was the one on the island in Norway. How did that impact you, and how did that affect what you looked at, you know, when you center in on things that are that large and that globally known about?
Well, we do focus very much on the mass shooting in our media, although mass shootings in the US incorporate around 2% of all gun homicides. What is most surprising is that virtually every single country in the world, apart from the US, responds to gun massacres by tightening gun laws. In the US, however, they loosen their gun laws. People actually end up buying more guns, and it's easier to get access to guns after gun massacres. And that, to me, is the most galling aspect of gun massacres around the world, is in areas where there's a belief that actually the way to stop a man with a gun is to go out and buy more guns. So much so that in the US, they now produce bulletproof blankets for children.
And Iain, I'm almost out of time, but I want to get your answer to this. You couldn't meet with the largest gun manufacturer in the world. They did not want to meet with you. Yet you also say, too, you know, quite rightly, that these manufacturers also benefit when victims of gunshot wounds are treated. Can you quickly connect the dots on that for us?
Well, the Freedom Group is the world's largest investor in gun corporations, but they also run healthcare areas. And in the area of Sandy Hook, the Freedom Group runs a corporation that actually provides emergency response units to those who are victims of gun crimes. So not only does this organization, the Freedom Group, benefit from sales of guns, and their gun was used in the Sandy Hook massacre, but they also benefit from patching up the wounds of those who are harmed by such gun massacres. And this, I think, is the crazy world of the global world of investments where, for instance, this group, Freedom Group, also own my mortgage here in the UK. It is quite outstanding how the global commercial networks end up meaning that your home could even be owned by the world's largest gun manufacturer.
Iain, we have to leave it there. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating book. Thank you for this morning.
Thank you.